All right, so now that we've learned about the future component, the cloud component of the Ichimoku system here, let's learn about the current component. That is the Tenkan and the Kijun signals. So here's the keys here. The Tenkan and the Kijun signals provide short-term trend data. Remember, let's come back and refresh what we learned in the last class here. The Ichimoku system as a whole is going to be really good for giving us a picture of what's happening with the big primary trend. But one of the key components is what's happening with the intermediate, short-term, immediate trend here. And so that's where the Tenkan and the Kijun signals come in. They provide that short-term trend data. Think about it very much like your 10, your 20, and your 50 period moving averages. If you're used to working with those systems like we teach in the Foundations program, those are very much a very similar picture to what you're getting with the Tenkan and the Kijuns here. So here's what we get. We get immediate information. We treat it very much like your typical moving average, and we're going to use both lines to get some signals here. So here's what the signals are going to look like. It's so similar to moving averages that it's going to be really a piece of cake for you to understand. Number one, if we're above them, we are bullish. If we're below them, we're bearish. Basic moving average principles. Next, we have Tenkan crosses, and then we work as support and resistance. So it is almost identical to what you're already familiar with your moving averages here. The difference, of course, being the way that it's calculated, but very similar in function. Let's take a look over here at some pictures. Notice when we're above the two lines, we are bullish. When we're below the lines, we're bearish. We're above the lines, we're bullish. Below them, we're bearish. So you could literally take these two lines, plop them on your chart, use them as part of your moving average system, treat them the same way, and you would interpret the data basically the same, and you're already familiar with that. So it's not a difficult leap for you to understand this here. Now let's compare really fast the Tenkan and the cloud. Look at the difference here. Notice what's happening. The Tenkan and the Kijun, we are actually below these two lines while we are above the cloud over here. You see how that's happening? What is this telling us? Well, notice the cloud is really thick. So what does the cloud tell us at that time coming up? Probably some consolidation is coming. Well, sure enough, what's happening? We're below the lines here, we're above the cloud here, we're getting some consolidation. So you see how those two are going to start working together in the future as we start to get there. But here you just kind of see the difference. Also notice the difference that the Tenkan and the Kijun are right up next to the price action, whereas the cloud, in this case, is kind of a ways away from it. And the reason for that, again, is because the cloud shifted forward, so it's kind of helping predict the future. The Tenkan and the Kijun very much looking at the current here. All right, let's look at the next set of slides so that we have some more signals here. Look at these crosses. These are just like your moving average pictures that you're used to looking at. Bullish moving average cross. In this case, it's a bullish Tenkan cross. Bearish cross, bullish cross. Once the lines cross, you get that bullish or bearish signal. Now, what these lines are doing, and here's where it's going to differ just a little bit from the 10, the 20, and the 50 period exponential moving averages. Where these differ is they're a little bit tighter. You're going to get an earlier signal, and we've got to use that as part of the overall Ichimoku system, or else, if you just follow these blindly, you'll probably be disappointed with the results. You get some okay results, but you'll probably be disappointed over time. So these are going to be a little bit tighter, a little bit quicker response, but overall, it's just like getting those short-term moving averages on the screen. All right, now let's look at the next section here, which is your support and resistance. And notice as we retrace down to support areas here, as we retrace down to the Tenkan and the Kijun support, bounce up to it works as resistance. Just exactly what you would expect to see in your typical moving average system. So really there's not a lot of difference here. And if I were to just sum up the current component of the Ichimoku clouds, we call it Tenkan and Kijun. They are essentially going to operate like moving averages. The big difference here is the way they're calculated. They don't have that smoothness that the moving averages have, and the reason is because it's a midpoint average. But outside of that, they're basically working just like your current short-term moving averages that you're already used to working with. All right, in the next section, we're going to look at the historical line, and we're going to see the signals that we get from that.